The music world's been rocked by accusations of sexual misconduct made against Rammstein singer Till Lindemann. Lindemann's accused of recruiting young women for sex, allegedly through a system that involved pressure and even the spiking of drinks. But hey, it's just rock and roll. No, it's time to clean up the music industry. 30 concerts, millions of tickets sold, spectacular shows. As the band kicks off their 2023 European tour, a tweet from an Irish fan starts attracting attention. Shelby Lynn claims to have been picked out from what has been dubbed Row Zero, an area in front of the stage, then drugged and put under pressure to have sex with Till Lindemann. Lindemann has denied the charges.
Till comes in and immediately I say, Till, if this is a sex thing you're here for, I'm not going to do that. Sex is very special for me. He shouts at me, Joe said that you would. I repeat myself and I'm sorry, Till.
He wanted to me, what the
Lynn says she did not have sex with Lindemann, but the next morning she found bruises on her body and contacted police in Vilnius. Lynn went public, prompting a wave of complaints by dozens of other women claiming to have had similar experiences at Rammstein concerts. Many were anonymous, but some were not. The influencer Kyla Shikes claims to have seen young women being systematically pressured into compliance for sex with Lindemann, before, during, and after an earlier concert.
All that was in the room was alcohol and 2 couches, and there were girls sitting on the couches. 8 girls, all lined up next to each other. Some of them were really a bit out of it. They came across as if they weren't really there.
Rammstein is famous for scandals and for testing the limits of good taste. Their live shows include a giant penis-shaped cannon. But spiked drinks? Sexual abuse? Legally, Till Lindemann has a right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. He was confronted by Deutsche Welle with these accusations via the law firm that represents him. We got no response, but the law firm has issued this statement. It was repeatedly claimed that women were drugged with the help of knockout drops or alcohol at Rammstein concerts in order to enable our client to perform sexual acts on them. These allegations are without exception false. In June 2023, the Berlin Public Prosecutor's Office launched an official investigation against Lindemann. It's now being investigated whether there's probable cause for a crime. But aside from potential crimes, many are asking, just where does systematic abuse of power begin?
I think the bigger part is about a systematic emotional manipulation, where women are being put into a situation where they are being confused with a lot of peer pressure, with the use of alcohol, and then being pressured and not directly forced, but maybe into situations that they would not have agreed on in a more clear situation.
Many Rammstein fans are coming out in support of their idols with the hashtag #IStandWithRammstein.
Naturally, this is also very painful for the fans. It's a psychological phenomenon to just say, I don't believe it. All the repugnant things in the world are over there, somewhere else, but not here. Not my band, not my star, not my family, not my church, and so on.
Shelby Lynn says she's been the target of hate messages on social media since she went public.
There's been death threats, like bounties for me, 200,000, whatever. I'm going to find you and rape you. I hope you die. Liar, liar, whore, slut, groupie. What do you expect if you're dressed like this?
It should be a given that female fans always have an inherent and inalienable right to sexual autonomy. At after-show parties, in short skirts, and at Rammstein concerts.
We're fortunate that in recent years the subject of consent has been widely discussed. So much so that I simply cannot believe that anyone today would say, if you go to an after-show party, you should expect that there will be sex and just accept it.
The case has been trivialized with statements like, but there have always been groupies. But what exactly are groupies? Let's take a closer look. For a long time, sex, drugs, and rock and roll have been inextricably linked. Women were the currency of success. Rock and roll pioneer Elvis Presley was rumored to have hopped from one groupie to the next. The Beatles fans were legendary, hordes of teenage girls screaming and even fainting at the sight of their idols. With the Rolling Stones, it was a similar story. The sexual revolution of the 60s and 70s made unfettered sex between rock stars and their fans possible. Some groupies even achieved celebrity status. Uschi Obermeier famously rejected conservative morals in the 1960s and entered the glamorous world of rock stars. A biopic portrays Obermeier as an empowered woman, confidently juggling relationships with Mick Jagger and Keith Richards.
Hello. Oh no, Jagger, not you again.
It has always been easier for women to imagine themselves at the side of a star, satisfying some supposed romantic idea rather than seeing themselves in the active role. That's why there were so many women, young girls, who enthusiastically threw themselves into it, of their own free will.
Pamela DeBars wrote books about her sexual escapades with rock stars. Cynthia Plastercaster's name came from her unusual hobby, making plaster casts of rock stars' genitals. That got people's attention.
99% of people lead quiet lives. Stars, in comparison, seem to have very extravagant lives. This excitement and craziness draws people in.
We are not groupies. We don't have intercourse with these guys.
Just blowjobs, and that's it.
The Hollywood film Almost Famous shows how seductive the world of rock and roll can be.
Don't you have any regular friends?
Famous people are just more interesting.
A crazy and unconventional life where anything goes, and social conventions are set aside. But once the glamour faded, cracks started to show. Did the wild 70s really liberate us from social constrictions?
In the end, however, as is so often the case, it's only the males who benefited from these changes. The thing people were opposed to, an entrenched patriarchy of male domination, didn't disappear at all, but intensified. Because it was mainly male stars who, through their rock star behavior, had the feeling that they were now entitled to female fans, female bodies. We're talking about power imbalance and the abuse of power, and about who decides what, who is in the more powerful position and who is in the weaker position.
The rock and roll lifestyle was seen by many artists as a free pass to commit crimes such as sex with minors. David Bowie and Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin allegedly had sex with 15-year-old Laurie Maddox, according to an interview she gave in 2015. Her claims have never been confirmed. Aerosmith singer Steven Tyler is being sued in a case that alleges he had sex with 16-year-old Julia Holcomb in the 1970s. Tyler is contesting the allegations. Also in the 1970s, Alice Cooper and Rod Stewart allegedly had sex with underage Sable Starr, according to her statements. Iggy Pop, too. He later sang about the abuse.
I slept with Sable when she was 13. Her parents were too rich to do anything.
Likewise, Mick Jagger sings frankly. No one wanted to see identification on Hollywood's Sunset Strip either, as this documentary enthusiastically recounts.
There were hundreds of kids on the street, half-naked girls all over the place, and I felt like I was part of a revolution.
How did you meet Rodney?
I stalked him.
Rodney Bingenheimer's legendary club, an El Dorado for rock stars in search of young girls.
The question of free will is always a very ambivalent one. When someone who perhaps has no status, no power, no economic capital, when they suddenly meet a rich, glamorous personality who seems interested in them, who wouldn't be impressed by that?
In April 2023, Carrie Crome, co-founder of the 1970s girl group Runaways, filed a complaint against club owner Bingenheimer and the estate of deceased record producer Kim Fowley. At the time of this report, that case was ongoing. R&B star R. Kelly was handed down a total of 50 years in prison for charges of abuse and rape. For decades, everyone looked the other way, all those who profited from his enormous success.
What goes on in people's minds when suddenly they have the world at their feet? Why is it so often the case that this power alone is somehow no longer enough, and is then abused to give the person even more power?
Misogynistic images of women seem to be more than welcome in the music business. A Rolling Stones billboard. A Guns N' Roses album cover. The band clearly only had one thing in mind when it came to women.
Turn around, bitch, I got a use for you. Besides, you ain't got nothing better to do.
And that brings us back to Till Lindemann, in whose works women seem to be present only to serve his male narcissism.
Alle Frauen, alles meins. Alles dreht sich nur mich. Ich bin Platz 1.
Here's another music video by Lindemann, packed with violence and misogyny. Is this art? Irony? A stunt? It's reignited an old debate.
Of course, there is the danger that the work and the person are not as separate as we would like them to be. That we can't say this is just exaggerated for artistic effect. That it's a strategy. That it wants to illustrate something or make fun of something.
Till Lindemann's poems read very differently in light of the current accusations. I like to sleep with you while you sleep. A bit of Rohypnol and wine, you can't move at all, and you sleep, it's a blessing. The publisher Kiepenheuer and Witsch ended their collaboration with Lindemann in June 2023, saying Lindemann had mocked the separation between the fictional narrator and himself as author. But for now, Rammstein's European tour continues, without a penis-shaped cannon or row zero. But does this really solve the problem?
It's not as if we haven't known for years that in the structures of the music industry, in the labels, in the agencies, in the management, and so on, the worst kind of sexist behavior goes on. We know that. Women report this to me, and we know cases and we know names, but we aren't naming them because we've no evidence in our hands.
Rock stars are cash cows. They're protected by power structures and those dependent on them. Because of this power dynamic, many in the music business remain silent. No one wanted to hear Kyla Scheiks' story either.
I was told by my old management I should delete the story, and in the industry, everyone basically told me, shh, don't talk about it.
What I care about is getting these girls' voices actually heard for once. And if it means I have to be the person to take on this onslaught of hate, I don't care. Go ahead.
Rammstein!
Things have started to change, and maybe people will no longer look the other way when abuse happens. Could this be a Me Too moment for music? Rammstein drummer Christoph Schneider was the first band member to distance himself from Lindemann. Till has distanced himself from us in recent years and created his own bubble, with their own people, their own parties, their own projects. That made me sad, definitely. More and more people are calling for a boycott of Rammstein, but the opposite is happening. Since the scandal broke, Rammstein's streaming numbers are up. 6 of the band's albums have jumped into the German top 100. And they have tens of thousands of new followers on Instagram. The scandal has been good for business. What do you think? Has the Lindemann case shaken the romantic anything goes myth of sex, drugs, and rock and roll? Let us know in the comments.